Hello. There we go. Hello, I'm on time tonight. Hello, hello, hello. You guys don't even know what to do when I'm on time. You're waiting for me to be late. I set my alarm tonight. I set it. Yes, I did. All right, I am not sure what y'all can see. It looks a little different for me on my side. How's it going? Let me know. Where are you from? What are you doing? How's it going? Share, share, share. Speaking of that, if you want others to have this information, please feel free to hit the little you know what button. Apparently we can't say the word SH. So if you want to share with others, please do appreciate that. All right, we're gonna wait just a hair. I'm hoping you guys can hear me. Nobody's commented yet. I did this a little different tonight, so we shall see. Hey, Dale, upstate New York. I have some clients in upstate New York. How's it going up there? Awesome. Okay, y'all. Ready to... Oh, now your guys' stuff is coming through. Yay. Hello, Colorado. We're just going to give it a few more minutes, or a few more seconds, just so everybody can hop on. Hi, Lynn. How are you guys? Hope all is good down there. I was thinking of you guys the other day. Hi, Lillian, North Carolina. Hart family. Harmony, North Carolina. Look at there. 2 North Carolinians. Rendsburg, Wisconsin. Hi, Chad. Okay, guys. Let's get started with the week's meetings. It was a good week. Awesome. Glad to hear. Tell Kevin hi. It was a good week this week for meetings, obviously, all the time. However, I am going to start by saying we did have a couple no-show appointments, which happens, I get it. Not the end of the world, but this week we had 2. Normally, I'm lucky if I have 1. I know things come up, but if you have an appointment scheduled, please remember, there are people waiting 5 to 6 weeks to get in to see me. Please be considerate and let us know that so we can go to the waiting list and we can move people up. If you are somebody that is on the waiting list or you're waiting to get in, sometimes they just, a lot of times they don't cancel last minute. They just don't show up. And so if you are somebody that can be Johnny on the spot, you have your numbers ready, you're ready to go, we can call you and have you on a meeting in about 5 minutes. And so if that is you, you can drop life and you can do that. Let us know that because we'll put you on that list so that we can call you right away. I don't care so much that I have the free time because I have plenty of stuff to do in my free time. Clients to call back, all kinds of stuff to do. But I don't particularly love it when I know people are waiting to get in and I feel really badly that they have to wait and you didn't show up. So please be considerate if you are listening and you have an appointment scheduled. Okay. Let's get into it. So this week, I actually had a really interesting call or an interesting meeting with a cannabis grower. So that would be my very first cannabis grower. So cannabis and hemp. And if you listened last week or the week before, I had another hemp grower. So needless to say, I've learned a lot about hemp and cannabis in the last couple weeks. Totally 100% foreign to me, but super, super interesting to see how that all works. And this particular individual lives in a state where cannabis is legal to be grown, but the counties get to decide what's legal and what's not legal. So the county says, oh, fantastic, it's legal, you can grow it, and then we are going to shut you down a couple years later, and you can't even harvest your crop if your crop is coming off at a certain time. Sorry, must destroy it. It is now illegal. And crazy. Went from making income to nothing, absolutely nothing, 250,000 in the hole. They're only allowed to grow a very small acreage of it. So super unfortunate in that situation. What did we learn from that? Is that if you are growing a crop that is that risky, and the law can change on you like that, don't maybe want to have a backup plan. Don't have all your eggs in one basket. I didn't know anything about it. Super eye-opening to me. But if it's legal, why wouldn't I grow it, right? That's what we think. And so this particular individual has learned a lot. She learned how to negotiate with credit card companies, and she shared that information with me and she's allowing me to share it with you because she had 22,000, I think, in credit card debt, and clearly no income now to be able to pay for that credit card debt. And so she hired some company that said, yeah, okay, I can come, I can help you, but it's going to be 25%. Well, needless to say, it would have added another 25% to what she had to pay. So how much help is she getting? So she learned the system herself and called the credit card companies herself. And so it makes me hyperventilate just a little bit about how you have to go about doing it. But she said, really what you have to do is if you have a massive amount of credit card debt like that, and you just legitimately cannot pay it, she lost everything. And she had some other personal hardships along the way that really affected being able to pay those bills. And so if you don't pay your credit card bill apparently for 6 months, then they're more likely to negotiate with you. And then as long as you let them know there's a hardship and that you do not want to file bankruptcy, they are very willing to work with you and reduce that amount. And so before you go hire somebody, maybe try to talk to whoever does the negotiating at the credit card company and visit with them and try to do that yourself. I think she said she got all of that down to like $22,000 to $8,000. And that's all been paid off now, which is fantastic. But she has a lot of other stuff that needs to be paid for because when one thing goes wrong, it all goes wrong. She has an absolutely wonderful personality and is so upbeat about all of it. And so that is really working in her favor because it's really easy to get down and out when one thing starts to happen, right? One bad thing and it just sets off this roller coaster. And so good for her that she was able to keep a really good attitude through it all. The other thing that I found interesting was that she has so much knowledge, because not only does she have knowledge of how to negotiate with credit card companies, which everybody wants to charge you a ton of money for, she also has fought their local county who said, oh, hey, here's your license to grow cannabis, and oh, now we're taking it back. And you broke all these rules along the way. And so we're relinquishing your license to do that. And so she said out of, I don't know, I think 200 licenses that were issued, that she represented herself in this whole case, fought the county and won the right to keep her license because she had all the documentation, all that stuff. But that young lady knew the rules. She did not just sit back and take it. She read her rules. She basically knew all the attorney speech, lingo, that sort of thing. And so, I really encouraged her to be like, hey, okay, here's the deal. You really know how to grow cannabis. She's done it for multiple years. She worked for a farm before she was growing it. She worked for a farm. She knows a lot about hemp. She knows how to help people with debt. She knows how to help people with the license to grow the cannabis. Why are you keeping that all hidden inside? Or why are you even not letting people pay you for that knowledge? Use that for consulting. It doesn't mean you have to charge an arm and a leg unless you want to. But there are other people out there. The market has become so saturated that people are growing it, but they don't even know how to grow it. So if you're early on in the cannabis, let's just take hemp, for example. We're early on in the hemp industry, and I just start growing it, but I don't know what the heck I'm doing. Well, why would I not pay somebody like her to come in, consult with me, teach me the ins and the outs of what I should be doing and not be doing so I can make money faster? And it's not just cannabis, it's not just hemp. It is farming in general. Why are we not using our knowledge and putting that to use through consulting? And having these people that are just starting, having them pay us for that knowledge. Again, it doesn't mean that if you don't want to charge a lot, you don't have to. But your expertise in whatever it is that you're raising or growing is huge. And we don't think that that means anything to anybody. Yet there are people all over this country that are just starting. I talked to 2 of them again this week. And I mean again because every single week I have somebody that is just starting a farm, a ranch, a food to table operation, something. They're just starting. They don't know a lot of what they need to know, but who do they reach out to for that consulting? Who is providing that information on the internet? Just to provide it, put together some kind of a informational PDF that you can send out, some videos, whatever, to be able to share that information. That is a great way to supplement the farm, to share the knowledge, to pass it on to other generations and other people. Very much like my shrimp farmer, who is paying a company out of Illinois to mentor him for a year. They're selling their services. They've put together the package, they give it to him. He has everything he needs to start along with their guidance. How stinking awesome is that? I think that's awesome. As a business owner who doesn't want to wait for the income, I will pay somebody to share their knowledge so that I can generate some cash flow much faster. Love it, love it, love it. Okay. Which leads me really into the next client that I talked to, who was one of those clients. I'm just starting. We just bought a farm in July, and small. I think it was 20 acres. Just bought that in July, and they've got some chickens, right? And so The goal is to very slowly add some cows, add some hogs, and build it into a farming operation. They have to build a barn. They had to build a chicken coop. They have a lot to learn. His uncle farms, and his grandpa farmed, and his dad farmed, but that was a long time ago. Like, his uncle still farms today. His dad is helping on the farm, which is awesome because it's kind of brought dad back to childhood and took him out of the office a little bit. And he said he's like a different man since he can come out, sit on the tractor, do a little bit here or there. They've got fences to build. They just have a lot to do. And I don't want to say he was at a loss, but he really didn't know where to begin or what to do. And so, for him, Working Cows podcast was going to be a really good option. He can learn a ton there. He can, I shared with him just regenerative agriculture stuff, learn a bunch there. There's other options of making money, wildflowers, strawberry patches, all that kind of stuff that people are looking for, and they're looking for that experience, and that we don't need to have equipment. We don't need to have expensive overhead to be able for the farm to generate some kind of income. Garlic, shrimp. It's really endless, like sunflowers. Lynn, if you're still listening, I got an idea for you guys. Sunflowers that are not yellow. This is something I just came across a couple weeks ago on Facebook. Sunflowers that I think they're called black cherry. And I didn't know you could get sunflowers that are multiple fall colors. They're beautiful, oranges and reds. And I'm like, if you have a small operation, can you grow sunflowers to then sell to flower shops or have people come out and cut them and take them for their own decorating needs or whatever they're going to do? Take pictures in those. And so lots and lots of cool ideas that don't need overhead. And some of you that have big operations might think, Mary Jo, what in the Sam heck are you talking about? These are not farms. Well, you know what? Just a zip it. I don't care if it's an acre or if it's 10,000 acres. Farms come in all sizes, and we need everybody doing their thing to make the world go round. And so this guy was awesome. He was absolutely super fun to talk to. He was also a Black farmer who was looking for avenues to get started. And I said, there are organizations out there like Black Farmers of America. And so if you are a Black farmer listening, there are those organizations. They may have grants. They may do specific loans for you. There might be grants for minorities out there. Look at those avenues, and if you can use them, use them. And I just haven't, I don't know why, I suppose because him and I were really just talking and strategizing, it came to mind. But I have had other Black farmers who, those grants are out there. It's just like grants for women or grants. There is now money out there, another round of money for the farmers and the ranchers through all this CARES Act stuff. If you have not looked into that stuff, do that. It's there. I get it's government money. I get that. Some of you might not want to take it. But if you have been affected by COVID, that income is there. And you might want to go out and apply for it. But a great way to help some of these people get started. All right. Let's see if I missed anything. So he was not in a position, because we just bought the farm in July, we're in a bit of a transition. He can start, he's got some money to start. We can start pretty small, or he can wait. And so we really talked about, do we want to wait? And it's totally up to him what he wants to do. He's read everything, he's excited about going, And it was really funny because he's like, well, if I don't, I said, just call me in a year. And then we can really look at, you've got a year under your belt. We can look at what's happening. A little bit of debt we can get paid off in that year, and then we can go from there. And he's like, well, I don't want to wait a year to talk to you. What if I just want to talk to you? We're friends. I said, then just call. That's fine. I love to chit chat. So if we need to catch up, we can. And I thought it was awesome because those of you that are my clients know that I truly want my clients to be my friends. I care about what you're doing, and I think it's awesome to talk to you. So it's not just all business when we're talking. There are times where we have to get down to business. And then there are times where we get pretty sidetracked and then we got to come back on schedule. And so it is important for me, and we're doing that via Zoom. We are still developing a relationship because it's about relationships, okay? So for him, not sure that we're going to get started. I also had another gentleman that was in a situation. So this is 3 of them now this week that called that are not able to start policies right now. The awesome little young lady that I had growing cannabis, she has just a lot of stuff that needs to get paid off. She's kind of got a long road ahead of her to start yet. So it's going to be another year or 2, unless by some, miraculous discovery of money, she's able to start because they've legalized it again. So she wasn't able to start. My other gentleman that has to build a barn, he may or may not be able to start. And then I had another young man who has really also been through some hardship and had to, file bankruptcy. And so it's going to be 2 years before he can start. He's looking to move and just really in a transition period himself. Grew up on a farm ranch operation, and he wants to start over as well. He wants to move north because he's in the south and he's sick of the heat. So I don't know why anybody would want to move up here into 60 below weather, but that is what he wants to do. So I think it speaks volumes for the fact that we go over what it looks like to start, what we need, and what we should expect to pay for premium. And I would be free to tell you guys that right now, but it's different for everybody's age group. And so these guys, one call was a half an hour. The other one was an hour and a half of business strategy. The other one was 2 hours of business strategy, but we can still break down how that policy is structured, what that looks like, and where do we begin. Because it gives them the knowledge to know in a year or 2 where we start. But I'm not pushing anybody to start. If we can't start, we can't start. I'll be here in a year or 2 when you're ready. But I think it speaks volumes that I'm not pushing anybody into buying life insurance. And that's what a lot of people are scared of, is I have to buy life insurance. And I did have one meeting this week that I actually thought was pretty darn funny. Because we're talking, the wife and I are talking, and we are having a great conversation about what they have going on in their operation. And the husband is sitting there and he is talking to me. And all of a sudden I say, well, we could use some of this money and we could put it into a life insurance policy. And he goes, life insurance? We're buying life insurance? And immediately he wants to shut down that conversation kind of. And I kind of laughed and said, you didn't read the book, did you? Nope. I said, okay, you might want to just sit back and listen. So by the end of the conversation, and he was asking a lot of questions of her, and she was explaining a lot of it because she had read the book and listened to the podcast and done her homework. And interestingly enough, by the end of the conversation, he got it and he was on board. Why? he might not have totally understood the thought process behind it, but he very quickly got over the fact that it was life insurance when he saw that 75% of his premium was going to go to cash value. And then he saw the illustration of how that's all going to work. And so I picked on him hardcore, you guys. Like, it was pretty fun. And he let me pick on him. I was not doing it to make him mad. But he let me pick on him, which was awesome. Because I said, you know, in the book, the illustrations and the strategies are there. So if you want to just check that out, you're going to see those numbers. And so all the numbers I'm showing you here, yeah, they're pretty much in the book. So it was fun. It was fun to pick on him about it. Because I typically don't let you get off that easily. You should have read the book before the meeting. And I'm sure his wife asked him to. But nonetheless, it was a good time. But had he known that, he would have thought I was trying to sell him life insurance, right? Do I sell the policy? Do I construct the policy? Do I help you with the policy? Yes. Do I teach you the concept? Yes. Am I going to push you into anything? No, I am not. So anyway, okay, next guy. You guys are pretty quiet out there. The next guy he actually had some really good cash flow already. And it was because he had just done some restructuring of debt. So it's awesome that they already knew. Sorry, I thought my computer was making noise. It was awesome that he already knew he needed to free up some cash flow, just in general, not to be putting in the policy, but just in general. And so he had really good cash flow. And he had a lot of money kind of just sitting and waiting. And so, I'm like, well, we can pay off some of those debts and then use that payment to start premium. You guys have heard me say that a million times. But his other thing was he had almost nothing left on his house. He only has like 4 years and it's paid off. And he's 40, early 40s. Well, he wanted to do a HELOC or a line of credit on his house. And I said, why do you want to do a line of credit on your house? Because a line of credit right now is like 5%. But if he wanted to get the equity out of that house, he'd be much better suited to do a refi. Interest rates right now are like 2.5%. So do the refi for 30 years. You can always pay it off early, but you got the equity out of the house. And that's if you want to be tied up to the bank. Because he has experienced the exact same thing. He said, if I pay this land off, then I have to go back to the bank and ask them if I can borrow against the equity, and then they throw a big fit about it. Yes, they do. In most cases, they are going to throw a fit about it, and so it's kind of a double-edged sword. We want our stuff paid for, but when we do, and we have all that equity sitting out there, we then have to go back to the bank to beg, plead, steal, borrow, right? To get them to approve the fact that we can use that equity. Because if we don't have the cash flow to prove that we can make the payment, they don't want to give us they don't want to give us a loan against the equity. And so, could he use the equity? Yes, he sure could. If he wanted to go to the bank and do a 30-year mortgage. Do we pay off land? It's truly up to you what you want to do. There is a strategy out there that says, hey, we can borrow, take cash out of a refi and put that in a policy. Not a strategy that I like. If you guys have heard that, I am not a lover of that strategy. And the reason why is because, so great, we took the equity out of the house, but we still have to make the house payment and we have to make premium payments. And if you borrow the money from the policy, you have to make a loan repayment. Who's rolling in dough? Seriously, can you make all those payments back? Is that a good strategy? I don't know. Maybe for some. I have not come across any farmers that have guaranteed income that we know from year to year what our commodity prices are going to be. So I'm thinking, yeah, probably not. So do we just be patient, pay the house off, put the house payment into a policy, start a policy? Yes, we're going to have to wait. If you need to use the equity in the meantime, go ahead, use the equity. It's 2.5% interest. You might want to use that equity or borrow against the house, use the equity, pay something off, and then guess what? You're just making the house payment back. You move something else from a 5% loan to 2.5%. So there's definitely a strategy there to use it, but I wouldn't recommend the HELOC. Now I almost forgot. He did say this to me. He said, I wanted to do a HELOC and I bank at Wells Fargo. They have pulled HELOCs. They won't do them right now. I totally forgot this. I'm glad I remembered this. If Wells Fargo, now my local banks are talking to me about doing a HELOC right now. So I don't, it's not everywhere. But this should be alarming. If Wells Fargo is pulling lines of credit and they're not letting anybody do HELOCs on their house, why? That is the same thing that they did in, that is the same thing that they did in 2018 and 2019 during the housing crash. What? Steve, I'm with you. I told him to stop. Wells Fargo sucks. And he is going to move everything, but it's where he's always done stuff, right? And so, why are they pulling HELOCs? Because they are either overlent or they see another housing bubble coming. I will say this live recorded. It's interesting to me how COVID came at the same time that our banking industry was more upside down than they were in 2018 and 2019. Our banks are carrying more debt than they were then. Were we on the brink of a financial crisis, and this was a really good way to get the feds off the hook, get the banks off the hook, because they're still pulling HELOCs right now. Not all banks, and I don't know about anybody besides Wells Fargo, but I thought it was a very interesting comment today. Very interesting comment. Okay. This particular guy as well is going to be selling 100 cows because he's a one-man show. And frankly, he has too many cows to be a good farmer and too many acres to be a good rancher. And there is a happy medium there. We can't always do both and do it effectively. And so he is going to downsize so that he can be a better farmer. And he's going to have this extra money. And so money that's only a one-time, only coming in one time, but what are we going to do with it? Are we going to pay off some debt, use that to put into a premium, or take the money from the cattle sales and put that into a premium and then make the rest of the years a comfortable amount? Because we can put more in year one and then we can reduce that premium going forward. So we have a lot of options. The other thing, boy, I learned a lot from this guy today. The other thing is he's borrowing some money from John Deere Finance to finance inputs at 0%. So my first question was, is it really 0%? What if you paid cash? Like, what if you didn't finance it all the way or whatever? He's like, no, it's 0% for 12 months. Okay, so it's like when we buy a car, when we buy furniture, whatever. 0% is not tractors. 0% is not 0%. Nobody is going to give you free money. If they don't give you a cash discount, if you're going to buy a tractor at 0% and they don't give you a further discount for cash, guess what? They just wrapped it up into the price of the tractor. I mean, you're going to pay it. And so if he's going to truly, if he's not going to get any sort of discounts, any sort of benefits, whatever, then use their money for a year at 0%. If you've got money in the policy, use that as a backup in case you can't pay it, or use that money to buy something else that's not as easily accessible to get a loan on. And so because he was thinking, well, I will just use the policy. Well, the policy is not necessarily 0%. And so you might want to just use the policy as a backup and let that liquidity there so that you can use it on something else. All right, next guy was not a farmer. Nope, he is a business owner and he has storage units. So you don't have to be a farmer to work with me, but he has some storage units. And it was an interesting conversation because he had somebody that came up to him and said, hey, I'll buy your storage units from you and then I'm going to raise the price. I'm going to do this, this, and this and raise the price. And he thought, well, if they can do it, I can do it. And so he originally had wanted to sell because he's close to retirement. And he's like, well, I'm just going to sell my storage units and I'm going to go buy a motorhome and travel. You know, great. But when he really sat down and looked at the fact that what's he doing wrong? Like, this person's going to increase rents and put security cameras in and put a fence up and do all this stuff. Well, I can do that too. And why lose that passive income? Every month I'm making income. There's hardly any debt there. And so he actually did it. He did not have the arrival syndrome. Sorry. He did not have the arrival syndrome. He hired a company to call around, see what they were charging locally. He is $35 a month per unit cheaper than anybody else in town. For a storage unit that has no security and no fence. So now he's added the security and the fence. He's going to go up $35 a month, which is still not enough, but that's what he's going to do. $60,000 a year more of profit. And he's going to go up every year. He's going to go up more. He's going to increase by 5%. He has had these storage units forever and ever and ever. I want to say like 20 years. And he's not run it like a business until the last 2 years. He never kept his books. He had no idea what his costs were. He hired a bookkeeper and all of a sudden he knows his numbers. You guys, does this sound familiar? It's no different than farming. Farming is a business. You need to know your numbers. You need to know what your input costs are. You need to know those things because you're running a business. It's the exact same thing. Okay, we had a bit of a challenge for him because do we take the full 60? Yeah, probably not. I think we should. And I don't normally push that hard. He's a single man with no dependents living at home. It's just him. And so he's lived without that money. So why now not put it into a life insurance policy? But it gets a little bit better. He has one child. He is not insurable. He is a type 1 diabetic. He is not insurable. And so we need to go to his child. Well, his child is not going to be able, we're not going to be able to put as much money there as we would like to, because they are not, that we have to have justification for the amount of death benefit that we're buying. We don't have justification for his child. He also, though, has a brother that helps him build the storage units, helps him build the gate, put the fence up, is constantly helping him. And even though they are not in business together, he plans to leave his brother some storage units so that he can gift him something for all the help. He gives him other things, but he wants to gift him something. So when he passes away, his brother's younger, so statistically he should pass first. So when he passes away, his child's going to get something, and then his brother's going to get a little bit as well. And I said, well, here's an idea. What if you buy a policy on your child and on your brother? Because they are both insurable. The child will inherit any cash value upon your passing, and she can also inherit your brother's policy. And so when your brother passes away, she then gets the death benefit to offset what he got out of the storage units. Or could he inherit the policy? So he inherits the cash value and she just gets all the storage units. Because the brother does not have, he's not married and no children. So however you want to gift the brother, I don't care. If you want to make it somewhat fair for your daughter, leaving her his death benefit is a good option. And so the strategy, I thought, was pretty awesome. We can do that, right? The one concern we have is that it's the same concern for farmers, no long-term care. How do we protect those life insurance policies and that cash value from Medicaid? And I'm not going to say the nursing home, because I want to correct you guys. It is not the nursing home's fault that you have to sell land. It's Medicaid's, because you need to qualify for Medicaid, which means you can't have anything, right? So the nursing home doesn't take it, Medicaid takes it, because the nursing home has to pay back Medicaid, okay? So they're the ones that are asking for that. But definitely some cool strategy there. And it just proves we can do whatever we want with these policies. To an extent, obviously. But we can get pretty creative for estate planning if we have a life insurance policy. And it's utterly amazing to me how many people do not have them for estate planning. He even has a lady who is going to run his storage units when in 2-3 years from now he wants to check out, go travel. His storage unit has a living quarters on site. And so he wants to leave that to her to run. So he will even have insurable interest in her at that point. And he could leave her something if he wanted to. So pretty cool. All right. John Deere Financial is not 0%. He gave up all his cash discount. He got a cash discount for buying early, he said. I don't know if that's what you're trying to say, Jared. Correct, bankers. Oh, Steve, my comedian. All right, let's see what else we got here. Oh, I had another couple that the wife works at Farm Credit Services. She felt so guilty. She's like, I feel like I'm cheating on my job. You guys, you would be pretty surprised how many FSA and Farm Credit loan officers I talk to in a day, or employees thereof, FSA or Farm Credit. Or just not so much like your local small town banks per se, but the bigger Farm Credit, FSA, I talk to a lot of people. that have jobs. Either they're processing. We actually just did policies. We issued brand new policies for an employee of, she Farm Credit? She was either Farm Credit or FSA. Oh, I should remember. But just because people work there does not mean that they want to be subject to the blood draws and giving up their firstborn child either. Keep in mind, those loan officers right now, they're either going home super stressed because they have to tell people they can't lend them money. They don't think it's fair. They are quitting their jobs because they just absolutely can't stand it. They see what everybody goes through. They themselves don't want to go through that. So it's not a bad thing if you call me. And it's not a bad thing to use the bank when you have to. We're just making the bank plan B, right? You heard me talk about it last Thursday. I'm using the bank to buy the land that we're buying. It's not the end of the world. It gives me leverage for all the money I have sitting in an account to do other things with. I don't necessarily want it wrapped up in one spot when I have other things to do with it. And I can possibly make other investments, right? It's always, if we're still in the growing stage, we might need to look at that. So I thought that was pretty, I thought that was kind of funny. Anyway, they have had some inheritance, and people always say, yeah, I'm never going to have an inheritance. And Nelson always said, be ready for a windfall. And they actually got a windfall from an uncle who didn't have kids. Now, they're not sitting back waiting for that, but he did tell me, when you have an inheritance from a family member who is not a parent, it is taxed completely different for inheritance tax. I did not know that. So that was pretty interesting. And now he's preparing, just in case, he also has another aunt that doesn't have any children, never married. And so they don't know, and they're not expecting, again, to get anything. But knowing that if they do, they're going to have to cough up some money for inheritance taxes. Because now that they've been through it, they know what that is like. So definitely something that you kind of need to be prepared for, and don't think that that windfall is not going to happen. I see it a lot. Great uncles, aunts that don't have children and leave money to nieces and nephews. I've even seen it where neighbors do. So it happens. And people don't think it does, but Nelson always says, be ready for a windfall. The other thing is it sounds to me like this is something that Farm Credit is doing right now. I've not had anybody else that this has happened to, but Farm Credit is allowing them, because of COVID, allowing them to only make half the payments on 2 of their loans with Farm Credit. So they can defer 50% of the payment. They did get some of the COVID farmer relief money. I forget what it's called, FM something. And they did get some of that money. And it wasn't quite as bad as they thought it would be. And so I did encourage them, just make the regular payment if you can. Don't defer that money. It's no different than I talked to, one of the other guys I talked to this week got some of the SBA money. He had a $150,000 loan, 3.75 for 30 years. Well, this SBA loan through the whole CARES Act COVID thing, they say, well, oh, you don't have to make a payment for 12 months. Well, my accountant tried to tell me to take that loan, and he said, oh, the payment's going to be X amount. And I was like, well, that's not what my calculator is saying. I said, it's less than that, and I don't remember I don't remember the exact numbers, but it was quite a bit less a month. Well, it's because he waited a year to make that payment. I started that payment right away. And so when you defer something, it's just compounding the interest. It's just making it a longer period loan. Banks don't defer things because they're nice, right? We're going to help you out and you're going to help us out in the back end. I mean, if you have the option and you need to take it, great. But if you have the option and you don't need to take it, make that payment. If you've took the SBA money, make that payment right away. Or at least pay the interest the first year so that that isn't compounding. But think about it. Even if you only make the interest, now your principal, instead of it being a 30-year note, it's actually 31. And so don't buy in and think that they're doing you a huge favor. Very early on when I started working with farmers, I talked to a couple of them that did wells. They drilled a well, put an irrigation system in, and the banks deferred those payments. That is what got them in trouble because it was a huge amount of extra interest that they just didn't figure. And funny how the bank doesn't tell you that, right? Every year at Christmas time, we get a letter that says, "Oh, Merry Christmas. You don't have to make your payment this year." What? I don't have to make my house payment? Thank you, but I'll make my house payment. Like, what are you talking about? Right? Or line of credit or whatever we have a loan on. So yes, I do business with the bank. Okay. I had a meeting with another couple that has a purchase agreement to take over an operation from parents. So this does happen as well. Parents actually make a decision and there is a purchase agreement. So in this particular case, it's taken forever. It didn't happen overnight and it wasn't easy. And they're still having to go through all of it because COVID shut down the banks. But it was they have the purchase agreement. At least there's going to be a transition there. They do have a lease on a tractor that they are not going to after they have one more year and then it's done. So what do you think we're going to do with that payment? You got it. Start a policy. And then not buy anything foolish because we just want to. So they have off the farm jobs as well. And another one of those conversations, the off the farm job cannot support the farm. If the farm is not supporting itself, we need to figure out why. If you are putting money into the farm with your off the farm job, then you need to make sure that that capital investment gets paid back to you. And so I hope those of you that are listening every single week or listening via YouTube or later if you're not listening live, I hope that you are seeing that this is just a recurring statement I make over and over and over and over. And so if you're not doing that, nobody else is. Very few. Very few. Because if people were doing it, I wouldn't be saying it. And so let's just be honest, and make sure that we are paying ourselves back and the off the farm job is maybe helping get started, putting in some capital, but is not going to be the one supporting that operation forever. Then of course I had my 2 no-shows, so I had a little extra time. Okay, that is all I have. I did get a message today about speaking at an event in Kansas. So you guys, if you are on a board for an event or you know a local event that you would like, or you think that they should have me come in and speak, just share my information with them. Reach out. I would love to be able to come and share. And I don't do a lot of speaking. I don't take on a lot of gigs a year. But I do some, and I mean, clearly I'm busy, and the more time I spend away from my desk, the less people I get to see. But I will come and speak. So if you guys have an event that you need me to speak at, or you would like me to speak at, or you think would be a good fit, please, please let people know, because I would love to share it. Let's see. Steve, you asked, why would you ask me that? I'm not going to remember. I don't know. I don't know. It's in the middle of nowhere, Kansas. I did look at that. She actually did not, I don't think she actually gave me the name of the event. It's a women's event. Ah, that makes sense, Jared. So when we figure the bill, instead of using the full discount, we use the JD rate. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Okay, guys, if you have not read, not gotten the books, if you think that you have family members that should know this week we had a great review on Wealth Without the Bank, or Wall Street. And we had a client tell us that out of all 3 books, this one is the one that clarified most for him. And I'm just going to say because he wasn't a farmer, or he had an off-the-farm job, I think. He wasn't my client. He was a client of a different agent. But it goes a lot more over the market stuff, talks a lot more about types of interest and those sort of things. They're very similar books, but if you have somebody that has an off-the-farm job, putting money into 401ks, whatever, get one of those for them. It's October. I was going to say it's almost Christmas, but it's not yet. Not yet. You can, to get Nelson's book, to get this one, or Warehouse of Wealth, which I do not have on my desk, Steve. But to get this one or Warehouse of Wealth, you can go to farmingwithoutthebank.com and you can get it there. Or you can go to, I hate to send you to Amazon because I have a love-hate relationship with them, but you can also go to Amazon and you can buy it directly from the Nelson Nash Institute and have it in 2 days. And it is it's a couple dollars cheaper than what mine are, but you can get them off of Farming Without the Bank as well. But if you're going to get one of Nelson's books, Steve, you may as well get them both because they're both good. If you go to the Nelson Nash Institute or go to infinitebanking.org, you can get this one on audio. I know that you're out in the field a lot. So you can get this one on audio and plug in and listen to it then as well. I have both of my books are on audio, and I cannot tell you how much better people understand this because they listen to the book more than once, because you're not having to sit down and try to focus. And so if you haven't got the audio yet, just go to farmingwithoutthebank.com. Grab the audio, download it to your phone, and maybe listen to it. You're going to hear things every single time that you maybe didn't hear the time before because you're in a different learning stage. So don't just think, oh, I'm going to read it once and I'm done. No, you're going to read it more than once. I mean, look at how many times I've read Nelson's book, and now we're doing a study on it. And really tearing his book apart paragraph by paragraph, it's amazing what I'm learning that I didn't learn before because I didn't really tear it apart paragraph by paragraph and pay attention to every single sentence. That is huge. I'll throw you a bone. Are you asking for a free book? We'll see, Steve. We'll see. Okay. I don't have anything else, you guys. as normal, if you have anything for me, email me, maryjo@withoutthebank.com, message me on Facebook. Happy to answer. I got a couple of really good topics for podcasts. So if you have a topic that you want me to cover in a podcast, let me know. Happy to do that. Okay, guys, thank you very much for hanging in and listening tonight. Again, I appreciate it. And we'll see you next Thursday. Have a good week.